if I select both sets of hair, I'll switch both back into guide haired mode, and I'll just do a bit of a comb over on these top hairs. So if I enter tip mode, I'll grab the tips of some of the hairs that make up the transition line, and I'll pull them down so that they overlap with the side hair line. I can grab the strand and pop the strand out a little more. Just get a bit more volume going on there. Let's pull this tip in a little bit. Now let's help the overlap along the top here as well. So back into tip mode. Pull some of these tips down. Again, just create myself some good overlap. And let's just do a couple more tweaks here. Maybe right here and right here should be good enough. Okay, let's go back into render hair mode and see what we've got. So some of the hair should now be overlapping. If I grab the other hairs into a render hairs mode, you can see here we start to cover up some of those seams. I'm still going to need to do a little bit more work to cover up these gaps here. What I could do is lengthen some of the hairs at the back on the side hairs. So I'll switch back into a guide hairs mode and start by scaling some of these transition tips. Make these guys a little longer, just to fill in all that empty area, and I'll do a little bit of grooming so that these hairs fall in a more appealing fashion. Like that looks okay. I'll move some of these tips back here, pull them a little closer to the skull. And I'll do a bit more hair control on the side hairs on the character's left temple. So once again, just do a little bit of scaling. Back into a tip mode and just reposition the guides. Okay, I'm actually just going to take the hairpiece object, which is currently unselectable right now, and I'll make sure I hide that. Okay, let's go back into our guide hair mode, or into our render hairs mode. Grab both pieces of hair, and back into render hairs. And again, the effect is starting to blend together in a much better fashion. So the last part, I guess, is going to involve just doing a bit more blending to the sides here and taking down this big poof towards the back. So easy enough to do. We'll start working with some of these tips. Right at the back, we'll get rid of some of that extra volume by pulling them straight down. Maybe do a bit of a scaling on these front hairs. pull some of these side hairs out. And make those a little longer as well. I'm going to put a little wave through the character's hair as well. Fix any stray hairs that we might find. You'll notice that the hair is actually interpolating off of the surface, of course because I'm using a very low-res hair object, a hair emitter, to style the hairs. A couple extra strands right here. There's one that's sort of gotten away on me. Alright, let's freeze both hair objects. Switch back into a render hairs mode and see what we've got. Again, I can see a fairly long straight run here. So again, not looking too bad. If we were to draw a render region, we'll see what we're dealing with. So we're having to account for about 100,000 hairs or 80,000 hairs, so it will take a little longer to render. So overall, the hair is starting to come along. Let's keep on working with some of these grooming techniques.